And all throughout Gaia we're seen it is blackened, you've bound resistance by the home of the Kraken, and by hearts of dark men, by polarity pulled, increase repeats, dark polarity ruled. If you pay attention, you notice they're leaving. I was just having a conversation with someone very important to me. And we were remarking about how, if you really pay attention, you notice the important folk are leaving. What was it? Oprah fell, Madonna fell. Can't continue on. Kobe faked his death. The entire NBA shuts down. Businesses are closing. The Disney CEO split. Bill Gates retired. Pay attention. And you'll notice that this has nothing to do with a virus. There is a virus out there, and you may catch the flu and then notice you have the virus. You may not catch it at all. Seems very selective, kind of weird, right? Does anyone know anyone who has it or has died from it? Corona. The life force. You ever seen that part in the movie? There's this animated movie, and I think I mentioned it in a previous video. It was My Pet Goat. There was this one part near the end, just before a huge revelation, where you noticed there was this character, this lizard character. His face was a television, and was spewing these lies, and it was involved in the creation of abominations. And just before the end of this video, it realized it no longer had power over the thing it was weaving its spells over, and it made a break for it. That's where we are. We're at a point now where they can no longer contain the lie. And they've created a grand spectacle, a grand illusion, a show for the benefit of a few to make haste, to head for the hills, to run for their bunkers, to get out of here. Because it's not about a virus. This is about a fundamental end of things. A fundamental change to things. A release of pressure due to meltdown. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about, as they're discussing peace and security, then would come upon them sudden destruction, as if a woman in labor pains. If you followed my work, you understand how I relate to all things through the lens of thermodynamics, intelligent thermodynamics. And you've heard me mention on numerous occasions how we are the receptors of this signal from outer space, from the luminaries, the gods. And we receive their frequency and their signal. And we disseminate that frequency out into the field, into the physical realm. And we act out those frequencies through our actions. We build those frequencies into matter. And because of certain changes in the atmosphere and the weakening of the magnetic sphere, we are susceptible to an amplification of electrical pressure from space, from these gods, these luminaries. And the amplification of that light, that energy, is playing out through us, through war. It's being released into the earth. What it is, we don't process, Gaia has to process. So it goes through us as path of least resistance, and what we do not play out gets fed into the land. There's a back current. It goes through the Schumann resonance, and some people are watching it do weird things. Signals that they didn't even realize could exist in a frequency pattern, like circles, instructions, languages, geometry. Because Gaia's antibody system is being activated, because there is a massive release of pressure that's needed for the correction of the storm taking place within her. And the moment they contain this force by containing the actions of people on a grand scale and forcing people into a state of inertness and inactivity, they will effectively achieve this peace and security by making a show of containing this virus. What they're in fact doing is sending the system into cardiac arrest through us. As soon as they achieve this peace and security by shutting down the actions of people receiving this signal from space, as soon as we are rendered inert, it will send the system into cardiac arrest. We play out the function of Aquarius. We're the electrical impulses carrying information throughout the network, building and creating the network. We represent the network, intelligent modes of light and information moving back and forth and communicating with one another and expanding each other with awareness, which equates to empacity. As we become more aware, our inner light increases. So we play out the function of Aquarius, and Aquarius equates in the microcosm to the actual central nervous system in the body. So we represent the central nervous system of our community, of our political system, of the archetypal body we make up politically, socially, religiously, through commerce. And by shutting us down, it shuts down the central nervous system of the collective body. That in turn actually has an effect on the central nervous system of people and the way they communicate and exchange information. It's done through fear now, or at least it will be. And this is all, interestingly, just in time for Saturn's move into Aquarius, which I find highly interesting. There is a grand game being played, and most people who think they're in the fight, they think they're in the know about the nature of the changes coming, and they've convinced themselves that they understand what to do. They don't realize they've just been given instructions by people who were processing false information. So the awakening has been rendered inert by a flood of shepherds with no direction. And because they have no direction, they just turn inward, and they're burying their heads in the sand. But it does no good to the collective if those who have the information just disappear. and don't even put up a fight. And they can't put up a fight because they don't know what to do. There is a very specific thing we're all supposed to do. And it has a lot to do with that gold. You have some people that just don't want to believe it. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to talk about it. That's fine. But this system is about to go into cardiac arrest. The central nervous system, that is Aquarius itself, is about to receive the restriction of Saturn. The restriction of information. And it will split timelines. It will open a door from the beginning of Aquarius into the realm of Leo, which is into perfect magnetism, the upper room. I can show folks what to do to get us there. It's in our ancient history, it's in our Bible, it's in all of our religions, it's in all our mythology. Everything dealing with calves or bulls or lambs or lions. It's all talking about the same stuff. It's about gold, about magnetic toruses. It's about the nature and the shape of things and the secrets contained in this zodiac that, when used properly, give us the physics to transcend our forms through natural electrical conductivity by a true understanding of what we're supposed to do with our monoatomic elements and how they change and augment magnetic fields and contain heat perfectly within a magnetic torus and pressurize the system, creating like the space saucer effect within the body and around the Earth. The UFO saucers, that weird magnetic field that they have, that's essentially what it, in all our ancient histories, when they talk about those flying machines, they knew what to do with with metals. But inside of a system where magnetic pressure, electrical pressure is contained perfectly, it's easier to achieve lift through magnetism. It doesn't take much. The physics of those ages don't work in this day because the magnetic field was damaged and has been weakening progressively more through precession down into the age of Aquarius and down into the age of eventually Capricorn, where it's the worst, where in order for life to exist it must be metal. And that's where humanity's going, and that's what I'm trying to circumvent, if you'll help me. A very dark time is coming. We're watching the birth of it take place. So I need some folks to get on the ball. And we need to give this resistance, this passive resistance, a direction, a message, an actual thing to do that will align people, that will answer a lot of questions throughout a lot of different faiths in a natural way. We get to understand with all the mysterious stuff that, these guys, these prophets, they were astrologers. They understood the symbology. They bore the same message. They branched off into different religious sects, but they were all talking about the same stuff, using the very same symbols. They understood the physics. They were initiated. They had an idea of what spiritual thermodynamics, how it was used to manifest into the world. Some people believe you just do it through your emotions, or you set an intent and then you just, you keep the intent. There's more to it. You have to actually symbolically create the very thing you're attempting to manifest, and that has to be done through more than just your intent. It has to be done through your actions or through symbolism as well. And then you set the zodiac into motion through thermodynamics that plays out in the spiritual realm. I started this out by saying, you notice who's leaving. They're sending the system into cardiac arrest. If you look around, you'll notice things are shutting down, and it has less to do with a virus than it does a controlled implosion of this system. Trump comes in as the little horn from the Bible, creates the grand distraction. And gives the elite time to run for their bunkers and say, hide us from the face of he who comes. Hide the mountains. They're talking to the mountains, and basically they're running to their bunkers. They're getting out of here. These people that own islands and yachts, who've been mysteriously silent throughout all the the UFO sightings and the political shenanigans and the intense weather and the piezoelectric pressure creating earthquakes and just all of the strange things taking place. It's like, all the important folk, all the Hollywood folk, the people in the know who've bought into this system, they've been oddly quiet, haven't they? Being folk who are as intelligent as they are and as privileged to information as they are. We've heard from none of these folk. They've been oddly quiet in their own strange little world. And we've been paying too much attention to them. And they're getting out of Dodge. They believe themselves to be those who live in Judea, who see the abomination causing desolation in the form of this virus. It has manifested that way, but contrived through a lie. It was also said that there would be folk who would, due to their polarity, they would have an illusion weaved around them that they would believe in a lie because of how they're polarized, what they're conditioned to see. Something very specific, a very specific enemy headed toward them, but all part of a controlled implosion to, instead of crashing the system in the predictable way that we've all been told it's supposed to be acted out by, where we see the words crash come across the televisions to let us know that the end is nigh. It's all supposed to play out like it does in the movies, right? Wrong. It's been set out as a grand illusion, a grand show to give the people in the know time to disappear, time to shut down the system in a very veiled way. In a mysterious way, using psychological operations, and then quietly bringing in the military, with the approval of the people even, for the purpose of order, who will be deployed to maintain order as society begins to break down, as our EBT cards no longer function, as our credit freezes, as our stocks disappear and our pensions are stolen, as foreclosures abound, as poverty and humiliation and anger come in all at once. The four horsemen are a ride. I don't know if you've noticed. Do y'all want to discuss where we're supposed to go from here? Or do you really want to ride this thing out in the mountains, not knowing what's coming? You think you're prepared for what's coming? You think they're going to leave you alone when you jet off to the mountains just because you think you're ready? You think you're ready to ride out the apocalypse? You don't know they've made you predictable. They understand exactly what you're going to do, and they know exactly where to look for you. Have you noticed these drones? This is to fade out the human army. Have you noticed everything in the Walmart now, a self-checkout? Have you noticed machines patrolling the aisles? They're wiping the slate clean. The Game of Thrones is at an end. It was all a game and a show for our benefit. A show. And the grand spectacle has played itself out. And now we entered a controlled crash. The military is deployed. They've silently begun moving in on certain folk, begun their operations to seize guns. They've rolled out legislation to seize surpluses of foods, to redistribute them among people, which the people will definitely approve of. But those folk who are labeled hoarders of this stuff, those people who've been preparing all this time, they're going to see the government coming down on them for their stuff, coming to grab their resources, coming to take their guns, and they're going to resist, and they'll be suppressed, crushed. You won't know it hit them. I mean, this is the way we really want to play it out? Nah, I don't think so. If you guys really thought this out, you think this fifth age, this golden age, is supposed to just happen, just like that? It just happened because you deserve it? You think you deserve it? What have you done to deserve it? Paradise. When you meditated, you stopped eating meat, you started using the word namaste, practiced a little yoga, you learned about frequencies, and now you're an expert on God. And you think you figured it out? That all the mythology says that this new world is supposed to just happen for you because you deserve it? What happened to those before us who were far more spiritually advanced, who were crushed when they stopped following the way? You think you stumbled on the way because because you have no spiritual direction anymore? That's not how it works. Let's have a talk.